Yo, welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. We got another boxing show for y'all today. You know we talking boxing. We brought my man Byron here to come help and school y'all on this. We got another big fight. The IBF champion, Mr. Bakhram, going against Tszyu. But before we get into it, make sure you go on Spectator Sporting YouTube page, subscribe to that page, and like, comment. If you wanted to talk about something, let us know. We'll give you a shout out in the comments. Let's talk about this fight, Adi. Bakhram comes in 22-0, 31 years old, 16 knockouts, coming off an 11-round knockoff against Jack Kalkay. Did I say that name right? Sorry, Kukai. My bad. And then Tszyu, 24-1, coming off a loss.
Yes.
A loss. In a 12-round decision.
Fight of the year loss.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, well, for over a year now, Tszyu has experienced a series of unfortunate events, okay? Iron Man Charlo, he decided to be stripped of his belts rather than defend his undisputed junior middleweight championship title against Tszyu in the ring, okay? And now, then Tszyu was supposed to fight Keith Thurman in March, but Keith Thurman, he ended up injured. He had to pull out the fight. I was looking forward to that fight, but he had to pull out. Couldn't fight Tszyu. And so Sebastian Fundora replaced Keith Thurman, and he split Tszyu's head open at the end of the second round with an accidental elbow, okay? And the bloodbath was on after that. And Tszyu could not see. He had a nice cut, and
still lost a split decision. Though.
It was a split decision.
Yep.
It was a split decision.
Hell of a fight.
Great fight. Lots of blood. And not only did he lose, not only did Tszyu lose his WBO, he lost a huge opportunity for another big fight. If Tszyu had beat Sebastian Fundora rather than Israel Madrimov versus Terence Bud Crawford, it would have been Tszyu, the Soul Taker, going against Bud Crawford in August, and that would have been a hell of a fight.
What a fight!
Yeah, you still can have it. You never know. It's possible. It's possible.
It's just been this guy's just been going through a lot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But still, we were supposed to see a highly entertaining Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Tszyu fight on that Bud Crawford Madrimov undercard, but Tszyu's doctors said that he couldn't fight. They say he wasn't ready. They say he was rushing back too quick. Say he wasn't ready, so he couldn't fight Virgil Ortiz and try to give him his first loss. Okay, so that sucked. So this man hasn't fought in over nearly a year. You know, his last he hasn't had a clean fight in a year. Okay, Fundora, yes, but I mean, I feel like the ref should have stopped that fight against Fundora. It was too much blood. They clearly couldn't stop the cut.
Bleeding in his eyes.
Yeah. So, but his last clean fight was against Brian Mendoza. That was a unanimous decision victory for Tszyu. So it's been a while for this man. So finally, Tszyu, he gets a chance to get that IBF title against Mr. Bakhram, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Absolutely. Tszyu back in action, great fighter. Byron, what's your thoughts on this fight?
Tszyu is the most disrespected fighter at 154. He is the boogeyman. He is the guy Charlo didn't want no smoke with. He is the only fighter in this division currently that will take a fight with one Terence Bud Crawford. He's not ducking no smoke. He's not running from anybody. He is probably the best 154-pounder in the world before Terence Bud Crawford decided to move up. And I am super excited to see him back and getting back out here, because he's had the unfortunate, as Adi alluded to, very unfortunate events. Fighting that Fundora fight, I thought he was in control of that fight up until the cut. And again, he lost a split. It was the first loss of his career, a split decision loss, and a very entertaining fight where he never gave up. Tszyu is a fighter that gets stronger as the fight goes on. Very high ring IQ, definitely sets up his shots, and he's just somebody you don't want to fight. I think a fight with Bud Crawford and Tszyu in Australia would probably be a Fight of the Year candidate. He's not a guy to be overlooked. You might look at him and say, he doesn't have enough. but this guy comes from a fighting pedigree, very tenacious in the ring, and he wants to fight the big fights. So it's very comforting to me to see him getting back out here, and I believe he's going. Is a belt on the line?
Yes, IBF. Bakhram has an IBF.
Yeah, right. So he's going after to get a slice of that 154-pound pie. And like I tell everybody, you know, you want to call out Bud Crawford. You don't have to get on the internet and make a fool. Just get a title. I think Terence Bud Crawford. You know, if the tomato can smasher fight kind of falls through, I think he's still going to focus on being undisputed champion at 154, and this is a great step in the direction for a fight with Bud Crawford for Tszyu.
Yeah, absolutely. Tszyu, 24-1, 29 years old, 17 knockouts. So let's talk of Tszyu. We know his pedigree. You know, he's one of the best fighters, especially in that 154-pound. But let's talk about Bakhram, excuse me. What is your thoughts on Bakhram running this fight? How could he actually, if Tszyu was to lose, how could he pull off this upset? What's the best way he could pull off this upset?
Well, Bakhram Murtazaliev is a fighter that I feel is someone who is going to get Tszyu ready to fight Fundora again. He's a 6 foot, 154-pound fighter, very unpolished. Very long, staggering left jab. I'm trying to think of a word. Like his shots aren't it's very mechanical, but kind of off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely a guy that you kind of want to see his career to progress. Again, I think it's a perfect opponent, especially after, you know, Tszyu being 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. He's fighting a 6 foot fighter, and I think he's trying to mirror Fundora and kind of have a better game plan and to fight big fighters. I think Tszyu doesn't dump the smoke, but this is a fighter that he's very, very, you know, not ready for that big spot. He looks like he's a pretty decent puncher for 154 pounds, but I don't see a lot of conflict in, you know, stopping Tszyu and his kind of overpressing offense. You know, looking at his resume, he just doesn't have the resume of a Tszyu. And not to say he's not a good fighter. I think it's a great test fight because I think Tszyu is really trying to get back in the fire real fast.
Yeah.
He's looking at, you know, his next fight is either Fundora or Crawford. And so I think him fighting this 6 foot fighter is just saying, hey, at 5'8", you know, he has a 70-inch reach. And then even if you're fighting Crawford, you're still fighting a fighter that has a 74-inch reach.
Yeah.
So I think he wants to get in there and mix it up with guys with a bigger reach, bigger fighters, and kind of test his skills and get kind of polished so he doesn't, you know, have the unfortunate injuries like he did, run into that elbow. Because Tszyu really wants to get on the inside. You're fighting a tall, lanky fighter that's trying to keep you on the end of a jab.
Right.
You know, you wanna fight opponents to get you in the mindset to fight those guys, and I feel like that's what Bakhram is. A guy that really doesn't have the talent, in my opinion, to beat a Tszyu. But he's a decent fighter. He's undefeated, and it's a good opponent to come back to.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How can Bakhram, you heard Byron, you know, if he was to pull off the upset, you know, Byron said he don't see it maybe like, but he is a good fighter. If Tszyu was to lose, how would he defeat him if it's possible?
Well, Murtazaliev, the Ram, Bakhram, okay? He's from Russia. He's 6 foot tall. He does have a 4-inch height advantage over Tszyu. That's good. Let's go. He got that going for him. And Bakhram was Iron Man Charlo's mandatory challenger for a couple of years. Yeah. But Charlo decided to get stripped of his IBF title rather than fight
Charlo.
Bakhram. As Charlo continues to master the game of hide and seek. Yeah. No one can find him.
And then announcing that he's coming back to the 154-pound division.
We'll see about that. I mean, but the sanctioning bodies, they didn't just give Bakhram that IBF belt. He had to fight the 33-4 Golden Jack Cool Kai. Okay?
Say that again.
Golden Jack Cool Kai. Tell the name right. He's from Germany. And Cool Kai, he's 1 inch shorter than Tszyu. And so, what stood out a lot in that fight is that Bakhram didn't work off that jab enough. His footwork was mediocre.
Very mediocre.
He rarely clinched.
Yeah. The jab was horrible.
Yes, and after the first 10 rounds, I had that fight even. Okay. And in the 11th round, Murtazaliev left hook hurt Golden Jack. Then Bakhram finished him with several power punches. And so, and he got the TKO. He got the TKO in the 11th round. He does have power. He has 22 wins, 16 knockouts.
Yeah, 16 knockouts.
Yeah. Definitely don't overlook this guy, you know, just because he is 6 foot tall. He has 16 knockouts.
His shots are very, you know, it surprises him.
Yeah, he took too much punishment against Kukai.
Took a lot of punishment.
So Bakhram likes to get into the phone booth, and he loves to brawl. He loves to exchange, and if he wants to keep his soul, because you know Tim Tszyu's a soul taker.
He's a soul taker.
If he wants to keep his soul, he needs to change that up.
He better not play him.
He gonna have to change up his strategy. He needs to learn how to stick and move. You know, use that 6 foot advantage. You know, that little 4-inch height advantage on him, and jab, move around, circle the ring, clinch. If Tim Tszyu get close to you, grab a hold to him. That man trying to uppercut you.
Yeah.
And he gonna work your body because you're so tall. He gonna hit you in the ribs. So Murtazaliev need to change up his strategy.
Definitely. Well, we're going to see it's definitely going to be a big time test fight, Tim Tszyu, and we'll give you our predictions. We'll be back. We talked about this fight. Now let's talk about the Ram. Trying to pull off the big upset against Tim Tszyu. So, Adi, will we see an upset in this fight, or who you got winning this fight?
It's been a lot of upsets lately.
It's been a lot of upsets. Every time we think we know something, we really don't.
Yeah, so the Soul Taker is one of the few elite boxers in their prime who is not bullshitting about his ambitions to fight the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop. You gotta love Tim Tszyu.
Yep.
And Tim Tszyu said, whoever they call the bad guy, give him to me. Feed him to me. All right? So, and it looks like Canelo is about to give Tim Tszyu the greatest opportunity of his life. Okay? It seems like Canelo is about to make a puzzling and perplexing decision to ignore Terence Bud Crawford's plea to fight him. It looks like he's just going to ignore the man and just pass up on a mega fight with Bud Crawford, which creates an opportunity for Tim Tszyu. Because Terence Crawford, he's going to have to settle for the next big thing, and that will be Tim Tszyu. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Still got to fight.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson before by saying something and then it did.
Yeah. So there's a tall background in front of him. All right. And however, Tony Superbad Harrison is taller than Bakhram, okay? And Tim Tszyu got rid of him in the 9th round with a TKO. It was brutal. He gave him uppercuts. The ref had to stop the fight. Tony Harrison was, and he's taller than Bakhram. Tony Harrison,
way better fighter.
Yes, and he works that jab. He works that jab in those straights really well, and he got him out of there in the 9th round. And it's not going to take 9 rounds for Tim Tszyu to take Bakhram's soul. It's going to be 6-round knockout for Tim Tszyu, the Soul Taker.
I like it. Brian, you pretty much, listening to your last, you sound like you got Tim Tszyu. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, I love Tim Tszyu.
Yeah.
I am a Tim Tszyu fan. I think this kid has done nothing but, he's chased Charlo. Charlo's scared of him. I'll just go out and say it. Charlo don't want no smoke with Tim Tszyu. And the name that I thought of when Bud Crawford announced going up to 154 is, I can't wait for him to fight Tim Tszyu. Because you can't come to 154 and not mention this man's name. The Fundora fight was very unfortunate, but it was a good loss because Tim Tszyu showed how tenacious he is. Even in the face of adversity, he's going to keep going forward. While I will agree with Ade that this fight is going to end in a knockout by Tim Tszyu, I think it's going to come in the 10th round. I think he's going to be a little tentative and work on generating offense against Bakhram. Bakhram is, again, 22-0. decent fighter. I don't think Tszyu is going to come out the gate and try to get him out early. But again, this kid, if this fight is fought in the phone booth, Tszyu is going to unleash body shots and uppercuts, and it could very well end in the 6th. Like this is, I think Tszyu is going to make a statement in this fight that this division is still mine, and I'm coming after the big name. And while we see right now that Crawford is having trouble finding an opponent, I think his next opponent will be Tszyu. And Tszyu's going to win this fight by a knockout in the 10th round, and Crawford next.
I like it. You worried about Tszyu, we all know is a great fighter, but he is coming off a loss. And granted, for whatever reason, I know he got, the blood and everything. So he still, you want to see how fighters respond after a defeat.
Yeah.
No matter how the defeat is. But that type of defeat he got, I know he's ready to get back in the ring and show everybody who he is. That's why I got him in the 8th round knockout. I feel like Tszyu is going to be an 8th round knockout. I feel like the fight early, he going to fill him out. Then once he gets going, then I think it's just going to be...
And he gets better. As the fight goes on,
he gets better, it's
stronger.
Yeah, he gets off to a slow start against Brian Mendoza. I gave Brian Mendoza 4 out of the first 6 rounds of that fight. But when the 7th round came, he started to... I can't believe Mendoza didn't get knocked down in that fight. He took some big shots. So he kind of takes a tank approach. He's like, the first half of the fight...
Kind of fill him out.
Yeah, fill him out. Then second half of the fight is hurting.
But his output will increase. Like, he'll throw more punches. Championship rounds are dangerous. You don't want a close fight going into the championship rounds against Tszyu.
No,
because his body punching is relentless, and those uppercuts. Again, if he gets in there, he's just a guy you don't want to fight in a phone booth. His uppercuts, he sets up his shots. He'll hit you with a shot you don't think is coming. And I mean, you have to know his dad. Watch his dad, and then you'll know this kid has a very, very high boxing IQ.
Costa Tszyu.
I hope we are right. Because if we are right, and if Byron is right, our show for Tszyu and Bud Crawford will be crazy.
I'm scared.
Well, but the thing is, they saying that Sebastian Fundora is trying to fight Bud Crawford.
Yeah, what is going on with that?
But
I'm hearing Spence and Fundora late January.
Right.
I'm hearing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I think this opponent that Tszyu is fighting is just in case, because what if Spence wins that fight? Spence wins that fight, then I think Crawford is going to default to, going after Spence to get the belts. Tszyu definitely wants Fundora. Like, I feel that he was absolutely cheated. If there ever should have been a rematch, that fight needs to be rematched. Spence and his team, Spence got his ass whooped and then got an opportunity, which I don't believe. I think is BS. That, he can just come up and dictate policy because it's a promotion company, but it is what it is. Tszyu still won't smoke with Fundora. If Fundora gave him his first loss, I think he wants to fight him.
Yeah, he wants his revenge, but I'm going to say that fight should have been a no contest. We've seen several fights before because of a big cut, just end up, and it was early, the 2nd round. It's not like it was 7th, 8th round.
Right.
And so they could have just said, no contest.
But I mean, it was such an entertaining fight. So I definitely agree with you. But we still got a split decision. It's very entertaining, and it could have went either way. It really could.
So basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, Brian, if Tszyu wins, he wants Fundora, but if Bud Crawford is available, I think he's gonna. You don't think he's gonna go Bud Crawford first?
And again, like Adi said, he was gonna fight Tszyu. That was his first fight at 154. And I was telling everybody, it shows what a monster Terence Crawford is. Because he's going after the big dog at 154.
Yeah.
Everybody hollering about Charlo, and I'm like, no, Charlo don't even want to fight Tszyu.
Yeah.
And I want to see that fight in Australia. And I think Bud Crawford is one of the few fighters that will go to Australia and fight him.
Yeah.
And again, Tszyu is a monster. If you're not fluent on this kid, watch this kid. I mean, he's Rocky with better skills. Like, I'm telling you, you'll think he's losing a fight, and then he'll come out of nowhere, up his output, body shots, setting up big shots, and he hurts you on the inside. Trapping you on the corner. And when he hurts you, he's one of the few fighters. He hurts you, he's on top of you. He's not gonna let up. And I just have a lot of respect for a fighter that gets better as the fight goes on.
He does.
And he's a very entertaining fighter. And definitely in these days and times, you want to get bang for your buck. You know, you charge $50 for this pay-per-view, you're gonna get your money's worth because Tim Tszyu is a must-see. He's a must-see attraction.
And the Charlo aspect, Tim Tszyu said, "I'll never fight Charlo because he's a coward."
Yeah.
So he publicly said
He's ran from him. He's ran from him. So,
but this could be a deep 154 pool though. If Charlo come back,
it is.
and you got Spence, you got Bud, you got Israel Madrimov, you got Virgil Ortiz.
Spence said he won't fight Charlo, I believe. Spence won't fight him.
Yeah, because they the same camp. So
no, not anymore.
Oh, right, because they split. Right, so they might. It's 154 is a very interesting.
It's very deep.
It's a very deep.
The new 147.
Definitely. Well, hopefully, background both. You know, we've done this before, and we can come on the review shows, and it could be a whole different outcome.
I doubt it.
We doubt it. We said we doubt it before too, and it happened. So that's why you fight the fight. You've been watching Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. Shout out to Byron once again schooling us on this boxing thing. Make sure y'all go on Spectator Sporting YouTube page. Subscribe to the page. Also go on Spotify. Subscribe there. You can listen while you're riding in the car. Leave comments. We do return comments. Until then, in the meantime, in between time, we out. Peace.